Welcome to Oregon Indie Film, a video podcast that shines the light on Oregon's independent film industry. I'm your host, Dawn Sellers. I interview Oregon's independent filmmakers who offer insights into the creative process, challenges, and triumphs of making movies in Oregon. I've been following the progress of Anna Campbell and her film NORA for a while. This is a film that walks the line of film, musical theater, and music videos. But it is about much more than the music. It explores the struggle many women face. We're told we can have it all, but can we really? NORA navigates this path with a current-day narrative many of us will relate to, infused with flashbacks that are big, beautiful, emotional, and reminiscent of when we all thought our lives could best be explained in a flashy music video. Anna Campbell was born in Portland, Oregon. She attended Lincoln High School, then went off to Vassar College. After graduation, she moved to Los Angeles to pursue her dream of acting. Landing roles in Veronica Mars and NCIS, she realized that producing and directing were essential parts of having a voice in the stories being made. The pandemic brought her back home to Portland, where she's now made her first feature film, NORA. I'm thrilled to have her in the studio to talk not only about NORA, but also the film industry in Portland, soaking up knowledge, and just maybe having it all. So I'm here today with Anna Campbell, writer, director, producer of a film that is out now streaming called NORA. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so nice to talk to my community about the thing we love so much.
Exactly. So we'll just get started by having you tell me a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a Portland native. I feel like that's an important thing to say.
Always.
Especially because the next thing I say is, and then I went to LA for 20 years. Right? So I always knew that acting and art was going to be a major part of my career path. But because our industry here was so small, I thought I had to go someplace else to do it. I went back east for school, realized that, I couldn't dance, so Broadway was not really an option. And I had a professor who said, in ancient Greece, it was legally required that every citizen go to the theater. Ooh. And I was like, and it blew my mind because that meant, yes, entertainment is the way ideas are spread, society changes, we reach all of the people, at least with a new idea, right? And not that you have to even change your mind, but that's how you get to people. And then I thought about Broadway, which was my first love, and I thought it's become an elitist event, right? Not a problem. It's a beautiful art form and a wonderful thing. But if you want to be talking to sort of a grander group of people, film and television is where it is. And I missed the West Coast really badly. So I ran back to the West Coast and I moved to Los Angeles and started a career strictly as an actor. I did that for about 18 years and with varying degrees of success, I'd say. I made my health insurance after a time. I had lots of the day jobs on the side because even making health insurance, which makes you officially a successful actor, is not the same thing as making a living. And had a blast doing it and learning everything. And then I had kids. And then the pandemic hit. And pandemic fled a little bit back to the Pacific Northwest. Mm-hmm. And I realized I was not okay with just being the actor, that I wanted to be a storyteller as well. One of the people who was deciding which stories were being told. Right. And so I directed my first feature, which is called NORA. And here we are.
Wow. So is this the first thing that you've directed? Have you done any shorts?
A couple of shorts, most of which never even saw the light of day. So I spent a large part of my day job time in Los Angeles as an acting coach. Oh. And from that started directing little people's projects or real scenes or this, and suddenly realized because I'd worked with so many actors, I was really good at communicating the needs of the scene quickly and efficiently and lovingly getting out of someone the performance that I needed, as well as adoring working with the crew and the technical side of things to mold the story into something that was visually appealing, had the auditory. But most of the shorts that I did certainly never did the festival route or any of those things. They'd either be posted or be part of someone's, existing body of work. So this sort of was I'm just going to do a feature. I'm just going to kind of start,
go for it.
just low ambition problems. Yeah. So,
So if you had to choose between acting and directing, do you have a favorite?
Now it's directing.
Yeah.
That was really surprising to me. I mean, maybe not by the time I actually got to it, but I was dedicated. I knew from a really young age. And I think a large part of that was, there was some tumult in my childhood when my sister was sick. And every actor I've ever met has a stage in their developmental process where some sort of attention that they really needed was missing. And that was definitely true for me. And that's not to knock it, and that's not to say these are broken people, but it's one of the safest ways, performing, in a healthy way, to be able to sort of heal a wound of needing someone to see you doing something that they might not have seen you do. And so then to find out that directing was actually way more important to me, it'll always be my first love, but I could give it up in a heartbeat if I could consistently direct. That was surprising.
Yeah, I love directing.
Yeah.
I always knew I wanted to direct, but I thought it was for stage. And I tried that, but I really like to direct film.
Yeah.
That's, what I truly love. But so you moved back to Portland during the pandemic?
During the pandemic, 2020, over the summer of 2020. It
was kind of a time to come home, wasn't it?
It was definitely a time to get out of large cities and, try something new and be closer to family. My entire family's up here. And it's already hard enough to be trying to do something without the support of, and not that my family wasn't supportive of me as an artist.
Just from a distance.
But from a distance and without, once you have kids too, right, you're constantly having to figure out where the kids are going to go so that your dreams get pursued. And so I was really lucky to be able to, I moved back a block and a half away from my parents and the house where we shot the film.
Oh, nice.
So, amazing to be able to really recombine with my family and bizarrely thinking that I was giving up on my dream, make a movie about the fear of giving up on one's dream and therefore not give up on my dream. So the move back home was really empowering for me, actually, if anything.
So was that sort of the catalyst for the story then?
Yes and no. So we had purchased this house, which was a piece of rental property for us, back in 2017. And I knew I wanted to live in it one day.
But the house in the
Nora's shot in, yeah.
The end when you move in.
Yes,
I don't
exactly.
want to give anything away, but it's beautiful. The house is beautiful.
Yeah, and we had seen it, and I happened to have known the family that had owned it before their matriarch passed away, and so I was able to really buy it directly from a family that I loved and rent it for a couple of years, and so I knew I was going to live there at some point. It was a place that had called to me for sure, as Coming Home also did, but all of our renters sort of left at the same time, and I just took it as a sign that we were supposed to try. So we rented our house in LA, and we came up here, and it was such a reconnecting to who I was as a person in the most surprising of ways. I thought I was leaving and abandoning, but regardless, because we had already bought the house, I started writing the film about the fear of leaving my dreams behind. So weirdly, the film was written before we ever moved up.
Just in the process.
In the process of thinking
about it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I started writing down, things that my daughter was saying to me and observing me as a parent and all of these little things. And that turned into the film almost word for word that you see in front of you. And then weirdly afterwards, many of the things that I had been afraid of, like getting sucked into the PTA and all these kinds of things precisely happened to me. It was crazy how many I was like, I'm sorry, what did you just say? I swear I just made a movie about that, right? Yeah. So, art imitating life, imitating art right back again.
Yeah.
Craziness.
Yeah, wow. So so you came back to Portland and you had this story already written. Did you intend to film it when you wrote it?
Probably yes and no. I had written several other scripts with my actor brain in mind, thinking if I can get somebody else to get excited about this, perhaps this will be the thing that gives me the chance to show what I can really do. And one of those got optioned, and none of the other ones ever really went. And so I think that there was the idea that this could be a film, but the idea that it was actually really my film and my first piece as director, that surprised me. That was the part that was like, oh, it was always going to be me if something was going to get motivated. What a magical realization.
Yeah. When did you realize that?
Probably late 2020. We were still really shut down.
Yeah.
And I was getting really antsy. I'm a doer. I'm a go-getter.
It was tough for us, wasn't it?
Gosh. Oh my gosh. I just couldn't figure out. And it was already written, so there wasn't even any writing I could do. It was already just sitting there. And so I started poking around at the resources, and it came together fast and furiously. And by, a year after we moved back, it was being shot.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you had the house.
We had the house.
You wanted to film there.
But it was also true that, I didn't get to pay everybody's full rate. I was able to pay every artist that worked on it, which is really important to me. But we were doing under the SAG modified low budget. And so SAG actors working with unions, we weren't able to do our entire crew union next time, I swear to God.
Yeah.
Right. Super important to me. But artists were really eager to work. We had all been shut down for such a long time. And so I slotted in between Metal Lords, and I can't remember, there was one film that was right after it. Was it Strange Darling? I can't remember. Something came in directly after, and I got an insane crew just in this random 3-week period.
Yeah, you have a great crew.
Amazing.
Yeah, I
got
was
so
looking
lucky.
at the credits, and it's like, wow.
Just incredible. For Kevin, this was Kevin Fletcher's first feature back since doing commercials for many, many, many years. Like just dumb luck that the right people tumbled into my lap, and we found each other with such love and such passion. So
I love it.
Yeah.
And so, can I ask what your budget was?
We're so, no, because it's important that we actually keep those things to where they are. But we're able to be all in under $1 million. Yeah, I can say that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And a SAG project, which I love that.
Yes.
So important to me as well.
Yeah.
I know not everyone can do that, but...
It's 100%, but just that we can live in a world where we can protect artists, right? That we can live in a world where we can stand up for each other and say, this is what a living wage looks like. And if you're going to make money off of this product, I want you to do your best to make it a profitable, right, situation so that it's worth my time to come and do it. You pay my living. I love the idea that this is not just, for me at least, it's not a hobbyist situation. This is what I spend my life doing. And it's not knocking people who make their first film or do it on the side or have it be any of those things. But since I take it seriously as my job, I treat everybody who works with me and for me as seriously in the same capacity.
Well, and I think that's one of the great things about Oregon and Portland specifically is we have so many filmmakers and we have all those ranges.
Yes.
So we have filmmakers who just get their friends together and use their iPhone and make a fantastic film that goes to festivals.
Yeah.
And then we have professional, union projects that are higher budget. I mean, still low budget, but higher than some. So I think that's really beautiful because it helps people grow.
Yes.
I think it really helps everyone. Work alongside experienced people, new filmmakers, new actors, experience. I mean, it's all good, right?
It's all really important, and the idea that we're bringing in new people to see what something one step up from where they are, or making sure we understand what it looks like one step down from wherever we are, so that we understand how we're going to be able to stretch ourselves further next time. And by the way, for me, that's always about making the community bigger and stronger.
Yes.
The more we can pay everybody, the more successful these projects are, the bigger we think, in my opinion, the better everyone does. It means that we can lovingly support the first-time filmmaker and say, I can make your project just a little bit better because I can teach you this about doing it one level up. Yes. Again, I hope that doesn't come across as...
No, we are so on the same page with that. It's community.
Yes.
It's really uplifting the filmmaking community in the state, and specifically in Portland.
Yes.
I mean,
with a teaching, growing, learning mentality. I'm an overeager learner. I love a new skill set. I love learning new things.
Like a sponge.
Like an excited sponge. Like the most overly enthusiastic, type A, A+ girl. I love getting a good grade on a new assignment. That's my favorite thing in the entire world. I want to always be trying to excel, not just do good enough. And I mean, you see that in my film that...
Definitely. No, I think you definitely are getting a good grade on this film.
Oh, that's so sweet. I didn't mean like that. I meant we filmed principal photography, and I kind of couldn't believe the way it looked. I couldn't believe that we had made something that felt that right to me in so many ways, if I'm to be honest about it, right? It was my first feature. It shouldn't have felt that right once it was edited.
Oh, no, it should. Absolutely.
I agree. But it was still it was the most loving surprise. And so then when we went into each of these music videos, and every single one of the 6 music videos has a completely different look, a completely different means of shooting it, whatever technology I got my hands on. And it was so exciting for me to be like, I'm sorry, the Bolt robot can do what? okay, now let me build an entire world around that. We can play with drones. What's the prettiest place I can find, right? What's the most striking contrast that we can locate? So, yeah, I mean.
Did you find that your screenplay changed a lot once you started filming?
No, because the main story, there's cuts in it, if anything. Like I overwrote, definitely. I think that's something that we often do as first-time filmmakers, right? So there's entire sort of mini storylines that are on the ground, and you still see vestiges of it, lingering on the screen there. But one of the interesting things for me was I didn't think I was going to do the music videos myself. So what I wrote in the script were really bad song lyrics with like music video insert here. Like I knew that we had gotten to the place in the script where something emotional enough happened that we needed a big moment, a music video moment, but I didn't know exactly what those looked like. And I always thought I was going to hire other directors to come in and do every single one of those. I didn't have any faith that I was the right person to do them. I had never done anything on the scale that I think of as music videos being, any of that. And about a year after we were editing principal photography as we went along, and I had a chat with Kevin Fletcher, and he was like, "So what do you see for the music videos?" And I was like, "Well, I'm still working on finding the people." He's like, "Yeah, but what do you see?" Right. And all of a sudden I was like, "Well, it's like the 1950s housewife smashing the kitchen, and it's like that Archie comic, but instead of chasing two boys, she's chasing her selfhood." And I suddenly realized I had entirely in my own mind, by accident, with my ridiculous overactive imagination, sketched out every single story.
You already figured it out.
For every single song. I had no idea how, but I knew the story that I wanted to tell, and then threw my hands lovingly into my crews, to help me figure out the most spectacular way of doing it.
And sometimes it just takes that person who recognizes that and says, "Hey, you've got this.
Yeah.
Like, you can do this."
Yeah.
And then you're like, "Oh yeah, I guess I can."
It is amazing how much our own, I think there's two, because I'm a grower, sometimes not knowing everything becomes my worst enemy. Yeah. I become the worst judge of myself because I know what I don't know. But I think that there, by the same token, if you're over egotistical, you're going to miss the details. You're not going to work hard. You're not all of those things. So, but even over the course of making this film, I know that I went from a much more nervous person to a much more eager to try person, and I'm proud of that. That seems much better. It's a much happier place to sit.
Now, you don't list musician as one of the things that you do.
No.
But you sang these songs.
I do, right, so that's fair. Yeah. So, I went to Lincoln High School. I grew up here. I was
My husband went to Lincoln.
No, see? This is the best. Yeah. It's so great. Wonderful school. I had an amazing time there. Being a weirdo and different was acceptable there in a very beautiful and special way. And so I sang in the choirs and I did all the musicals and all those things. And I went off to college and I got into, a couple plays as a freshman. I was, it's pretty exciting in college to be able to make that transition. And we were doing Stephen Sondheim's Company, and I was cast as the soprano, which is what I'd always sung. And nobody told me that women's voices change too. Yeah. It's a lot later, and it's much more subtle, but I lost my soprano range. It was also probably that it was college, and I was underslept, and, many things were shifting as we went along too. But I lost complete confidence in my ability to have that be part of my artistic thing. So I always considered myself a singer, but had completely stepped away from it, removed myself completely as that is a skill set that I thought of as part of myself. And then when we started writing these things again, my amazing friend Noah Harmon, who wrote the songs with, lyric help from me and some, we figured out what my voice was capable of again. Right. So to be able to write specifically he met me where
voice.
I was.
Yeah, that's great.
It was magical.
Yeah,
so.
it was good. It was a good outcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, very creative. And so back to the music video piece. Yeah. So it's very interesting because it is kind of a series of music videos.
Yes.
With some narrative thrown in.
Yes.
So why that? Why did you make that choice?
I was a musical theater geek growing up. I loved musical theater. It was, I think my parents, who were lovingly protective of us, thought that musicals were a safe place to experience music for the first time. So they would buy us any musical soundtrack, which is kind of psychotic when you think about it because so many of them have so much sex and so much rock and roll. Yeah. But whatever. So I listened to all the musicals and that was total permission granted. But at some point, bursting into song stopped making sense for me as a narrative thing. Like, it didn't feel very human to me, right? I burst into song all the time, don't get me wrong, but there's times and places for it, right? But I still love music more than anything. And as my musical taste drifted more into, you know, sort of indie rock and indie folk and broadened, really, frankly, I didn't need musical theater itself for me as a performer. I still love it as a genre and as an art form. And so when I came to this and wanted her to be a singer-songwriter, and, you know, the story mirrors mine in a lot of ways, but I'm not a singer-songwriter. I wasn't interested in doing a straight mirror of my own experience. I wanted it to be a metaphor version of it. And it just popped into my head. I was like, but MTV uses music all the time and creates their own stories. And, I mean, used to. We don't do that. It doesn't do that anymore. But I just loved the idea that instead of bursting into song, what's really happening for her is art still happens. Right. When something big and emotional happens, the song still comes to the songwriter. And if she were allowed to follow that impulse, that artistic impulse, to its complete end, that would be a music video at its most glorious, at its most spectacular. And the combination of the visual imagery with the emotion bomb that is music, I just think is one of the most powerful things in the world. And you can do anything.
Right.
It's pure imagination. Yes. In the most spectacular way.
Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting way to do the flashbacks. I mean, they were big and they were beautiful and they were completely separate, different locations, different vibe.
Yep.
Each of them.
Yeah.
Well done. I mean, that was very impressive that you pulled that off, and it helped tell the story really well.
Thank you. Well, I love to talk in metaphor, but the film itself is the film doesn't speak in metaphor at all. It's very sort of practical and almost documentary style in its just live in this and you'll feel the thing that person feels. I don't shy away from the emotion of what she's going through, but no one sits down and says, I feel really sad because the difference between what I expected from my life and being a parent doesn't feel quite the same. You have to live through it with her. But then you can take the metaphor of what if instead of a romance novel, you're walking through the woods and instead of following the man down the path, you go and forge your own path and create your own red carpet out of your very own experience, right? And that you just do that in images. Again, you don't say it. You just show the own path being forged. And it's fascinating to me because I shot every single one of those music videos as their own. Each of the songs that appear in the movie is a truncated version of the entirety. So there's actually full-length versions of all of those music videos as, you know, appears on the full soundtrack. And those are all available through the platform where we're distributing right now called Veeps. And as separate bits. But in the film, it didn't work to tell the entirety of the story. Right. Because I had them in as the full-length versions for a long time. Yeah. But telling a complete story with a beginning, middle, and an end took you out completely from the narrative that you were supposed to be a part of. You needed a bit and the metaphor more than you actually needed to tell a beginning, middle, and an end. So we cut them down pretty drastically in some cases. Yeah, well, it worked. I mean, it really kept me engaged. Like, you know, I think if it was all narrative, it probably wouldn't have. Yeah. And if it was all music, it probably wouldn't have. Yep. But I think switching back and forth was really engaging and kept the story moving forward quickly. Thank you. So yeah, that was really interesting how you did that. And so the person who wrote the songs, now, is he also in the film? Sort of. At the very beginning, he makes an appearance because the opening sequence, you see what will turn out to be a flashback of Nora before she appears through the rest of the film in the recording studio working on the music. And so that's my friend Noah Harmon, who used to be an Airborne Toxic Event and tours with Poison the Well. Just one of those musicians that is capable of everything. He can play with any genre. He's deeply knowledgeable and respectful of music in its entirety. And so we'd throw ideas at each other for songs that we thought were similar to it, and we just ended up with this beautiful mix. And you know, the best part about that is, in the interest of working with the people you love, he was my neighbor in Los Angeles. Okay. We have kids the same age, right? And so our children would play together and we would just hang out. And then one day I was like, oh, you're a musician. What if we wrote the songs for this movie I'm writing together? And our children would play while we created music. And it turned into a full, you know, actual film, which is just magic. And in fact, one of the songs, my youngest daughter plays sort of Nora's younger self, and there's one moment between two children, and that's his son and my daughter, who are very much in love, and sort of like a first like early love, like finding each other moment. Very innocent, very very sweet, and that was another thing that just came out of absolute truth of their relationship of like, we're gonna go do everything together. We're gonna be all of your little bits of life coming alive on screen.
Nice. Yeah. That worked out really well.
It was an amazing creative.
Lucky to have a talented neighbor.
Yeah, dumb luck. Absolutely dumb luck.
That was on board right away, it sounds like.
And just a dear person. I think, I obviously, who doesn't prefer to work with their best friends?
Exactly.
But to have, the people that you love the most also, I don't know. I mean, I guess I've always sort of collected people who I've found talented and interesting for whatever reason, right? But I didn't realize that they would all jump behind me so lovingly. It hadn't occurred to me to ask before. And if I'm to be honest, I was surprised how many people said yes. When I just never asked before because I didn't think I had the right to. So ask.
Ask. I say that all the time. Ask.
Yeah.
Many times people are waiting. They want to help and they just don't know how. So ask.
Well, and the answer is certainly no if you don't ask, right? So if you're sitting there telling yourself no one's going to help me, but you're not actually asking if they will, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy right there. We do that to ourselves all the time.
We do.
So
and the
human.
no's don't mean no always, or it might just not be a good fit, and that's okay.
And if it is a no, then fantastic. Thank you for telling me. Now I don't have to hold on to the idea that there might be a version of something there that isn't available to me.
Right.
Nothing related to our actual relationship, that's not the right place. And it's not the forever no.
Yeah.
There's always a way to do it.
Yeah. I love that. And so when did you film this?
We filmed 2021 for principal photography and the music videos over the course of 2022.
So you filmed those separately. So you filmed the narrative first.
Yes.
And then you added in these music videos.
Yes. And we knew that there would be music videos. We knew that there were breaks.
Right.
We filmed...
so you planned for those.
We did. And we filmed transitions, a couple of which I was very dissatisfied with. And we ended up finding different ways to get in and out of, because when you don't know exactly what it's... And it's very true that I did not know exactly what they were going to look like until after. The only one I thought I was going to film during principal photography was the mannequins video. But we not only ran out of time, like I have no idea why I thought we would have time to get it done. Like we had the mannequins in the car when we were filming the PTA moms party scene. And we were going to film in there. And then suddenly I looked at my watch. I was like, we only have 90 minutes before the end of the day. I'm not dragging out a bunch of mannequins and making this crew stay for what I think deserves a full day unto itself. I'm so glad for those little producing decisions that made everybody, first of all, feel like they were being taken care of. I think that's deeply important as both the producer and as the director. And I'm much happier with the result that we came out with. It was a very good move. So
yeah, I think very challenging to do it that way, to
Yes.
film and then film the music videos and insert those. I could see how the transitions were challenging. So the music videos, were they about a one-day shoot each then?
About that, yeah. So we have one animated one, and then we have one that was shot on blue screens. That obviously took a lot of post-production stuff. But all of the other ones were filmed in a day. Even the blue screen one was filmed over the course of one day, and fast. Who wouldn't love a little bit more room to wiggle on those two? But I'm again still delighted at the outcome. So,
so how many shooting days total?
Let's see, 18 on principal photography, and we had budgeted for 20, and just were able to get it in, which was great because that saved us a little bit of money, knowing we had to still get the music videos done. And then that's not fair, 5 total because one of them was completely animated.
Right.
So 24 days total. Yeah, with a couple of prep days, and we did 3 of the music videos back to back out at Coach and Sarge in where is it, Hillsborough, Tualatin, that way, out a little ways. Wonderful stage that we actually have here, and so we prepped for a day, set up the blue screen, set up the breaking and the phantom shots, and learned the Bolt robot, and then shot 3 days in a row. So we had one sort of extra day in there without actually filming for prep.
And so one of the music videos is animated, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. What was that? How did you make that decision to do one animated?
I used to pick up the Archie comics at the grocery store.
Me too. I love those.
And my mom would never buy them for me, right? But so I would like read them in the line and be like, oh, okay, right. Oh, Betty and Veronica. And when I was trying to figure out what the metaphor was for this kind of mean girl thing, Archie really stuck in my head, right? They're fighting over the thing and they're always at each other's backs and it's always two women pitted against each other to get the one desirable thing in the middle, which of course is a man, right? That's just...
Wow, I just realized that's like, what?
It's pretty fucked up. Sorry, are we allowed to swear? Yeah.
Right. What were they teaching us?
What were they teaching us?
Why? And we've all learned that.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's such a bizarre statement to be made and to be absorbing as a child. So I was like, it's like the Mean Girls and Betty and Veronica. I was like, those comic books where they're like dots and it's like, no, this is how you're supposed to be and you're supposed to. I was like, but I don't want to be those girls. I want to be the girl that wants to fight for her own needs.
Right.
I want to fight to form the band and I don't want to be interested in the guys. And, I like guys great, don't get me wrong, but
they're not worth fighting over.
Well, it's not the story I wanted to tell. It's not it's not the first thing I think when I wake up in the morning, but I think that a lot of entertainment teaches us that that's what we're supposed to wake up and think, right? Yes. And so the animation was bluntly, I found this amazing music video animator in London, of all places. And I was like, I want it to look like a Betty and Veronica. He's like, I don't even know that. You're going to have to send me some examples, which was hilarious because, of course, not of his culture. And he thought they were so weird, right? So he took them and he really bluntified them, right? Really made it even more obnoxiously obvious with blatant wording and shock. Oh my gosh, this person sucks. Losers, right? All of the most obvious language that you could in a film that was not about being obvious at all. And I thought it was just a really special way to do it. So that was my
and I didn't pick up any Archie references. I think he did a really good job of making it unique. So, that's interesting.
It was fascinating. Only afterwards, after shooting all of the music videos, did I suddenly realize every single one of those 6 videos is me taking an image that as a woman had messed with my head and repurposing it back into my own story, right? So the romance novel and the... turning yourself into a literal mannequin to fit in with the other, to try to fit in with the other people. All these changes we make to ourselves, and the idea of sort of chasing in the storybook instead of chasing a man into the woods or you're chasing your own self and your own healing of your own inner child, right, down through the mystical forest paths and. Having to take yourself on that journey. So every single one of those turned out to be something bigger than I thought that it was.
They were big. And, earlier you referenced the MTV music videos. And I think, first of all, I think younger people today are really missing out because the original MTV was amazing.
Oh, so
and
good.
Those music videos, it was very reminiscent of that, where each video tells a complete story.
Yes.
And they're big and they're beautiful and they're in your face and
and their entire personalities represented.
Yes.
Their entire mini storylines and the way MTV used to work is you'd go to my friend's house because we didn't have cable, but you'd go to a friend's house and you'd turn it on and you'd see the same music video for a while, right? Week after week, even show after show, block after block. And every time you see an image repeated, you get something different out of it.
Yes.
And every time, it's the problem with sort of television. Oh, you see it once and it's gone, right? So much of filmmaking, you absorb so much more with repetition. And it was a truly magical way to sort of really get to know the artists and understand the subtext of what they were giving you with either the songs or the image. Sometimes they didn't match up at all, which was also sort of fun. But I agree. The combination of these two art forms of a visual medium and pure auditory, like magic, it was fun for me to go back and play with that thing that had meant so much to me.
Yeah, I love it. Love how you combine those. Yes. And so let's talk about post-production because, wow, that must have been... very long.
It's so long. And, that was probably the bit of it that startled me the most, not the actual length of time.
Are you an actor or voiceover talent in the Vancouver, Washington area looking for a professional space to record self-tape auditions or voiceover sessions? Welcome to the Soundstage, the Northwest's premier voiceover and self-tape audition studio. Our state-of-the-art Source Connect-enabled studio is perfect for auditions, demos, and client bookings, all at affordable rates. We offer workshops, classes, resources, training, and more to help you elevate your career. Learn more about The Soundstage at thesoundstagenw.com.
Hey there. If you're enjoying this episode of Oregon Indie Film, don't go anywhere. We've got more great conversation coming up. And if you believe in uplifting local voices and the power of independent storytelling, we'd love your support. Hit that follow button, share the show with a friend, or leave us a quick 5-star review. It makes a big difference. Want to get more involved? Reach out at OregonIndieFilm@gmail.com. Now, back to the episode.
But, much later I was talking to someone who said, oh, no. Directing is the loneliest job. I was like, I thought I was finally forming my community and I could bring the people I wanted to have around me. But like 90% of it is sitting in a room either by yourself or with one fantastic editor and going, oh gosh, I hope I have anything. And that's scary.
It is scary.
And it's lonely. And it's too early to be sounding it off of someone. You have to get it as good as you can before you ask somebody else if it's actually working. And that was a big surprise, and I guess I would just say, for anybody who hasn't done it before, get ready.
I think most of the film is made in the editing.
Oh,
I mean, it really is.
100%. 100%.
So how long did it take to edit all that together?
So did
you, first let me ask, did you edit the music videos separately first?
Yes.
So you put those together, but they were longer in the beginning?
Yes.
Okay.
So we did rough cut edit the film together between 2021 when we did Principal and then when we started doing the music videos. So we knew
where they were going to kind of rough cut.
Yeah, exactly. And it's scripted, so if, you know what it's supposed to be. But even with it rough, you're sort of like, well, I don't really know what this is going to be. I remember the very first time I showed it to somebody who was important to me in Hollywood. They were like, great. I don't know what this is yet. You don't have music videos in here. And it was a safe place to do so, but it was the most important lesson. I also made the mistake of submitting to film festivals when it was still in not horribly rough, but rough cut form, and burned my opportunities. When I started in this industry, you could absolutely submit a rough cut, and if they could see anything in it, but there's too many of us now. We have to be submitting that polished
I agree.
product.
Wait until it's finished. Don't submit rough cuts.
Done.
Festivals will tell you that you can, and you can, but don't.
100% don't. Get it sweetened. Yeah. Please go to Digital One and do the sound, right? Like, get it done as well as you possibly can. Make sure you think it's finished before you're not showing it to anybody. There will be safe places to do it, but to any broad situation for sure, and any films, festivals for sure. Yeah.
So you had Digital One do the sound.
Digital One did my sound, the entire mix, and all of the sweetening and Foley and the whole thing. It was really fun. I mean, I love them down there. They're such magical people. Hibernation posted my color, Ryan Graves.
Oh yeah, shout out to Ryan Graves.
Shout out to Ryan. Yeah. Well, he just, he cares so passionately about it, and he's also got a lot of the tricks for finishing and for post and for, for actually getting your deliverables and in fantastic shape. So that's been wonderful. And we were editing in my house with my partner. So it would be nights and it would be between jobs and it would be really long days, and then we get really mad at each other and and then come back together. And it's lucky in a lot of ways that process could take as long as there was no rush, right? At the time that we were finishing the movie, which was, so end of 2022 and into 2023 was the absolute lowest point in indie film distribution. We were watching the bottom fall out of the market. Yeah. The streamers were no longer purchasing the way they did during the pandemic. I was involved in another film during that time, whose first film had been bought straight away by a major company, and then their second one, they were like, oh yeah, we're just. And by the way, I'm going to say this: it's a great film. Their second film is probably tighter and better than the one that sold effortlessly when there was a desperate need for content. And out of the pandemic, because the economics of streaming had not proven themselves, we all suffered as a result of it. So I slowed myself down, watching all the other indie filmmakers I know bite the dust as far as their profits and all these things. I was like, let's slow down. Let's see where the industry is going. Let's take our time. There's not a rush for us. It's not like the film's going to get stale or old, or we're using ancient technology that's going to look stupid in 2 years. So it wasn't just holding it, but I'm really glad I did, because over that almost 2 years until we got into CineQuest, we cut and we cut and we tried things and we went back and we cut and we cut. And that part of the process, which was the part I had the least experience with, coming from the acting and, full visual creative side of things.
Mm-hmm. But you had surrounded yourself with professionals.
100%.
Yeah, and so I think, trusting
Yes.
the process.
Yes.
Trusting the people and trusting the process.
Yes, and taking its sweet time. Don't be in a rush, right? Was such an important lesson that I learned. So pleased with that.
Yeah. So Post took you how long then? Over a year.
Oh, well over a year.
Yeah.
And again, we really did start it in 2021.
Yeah.
So
and you really stalled on purpose. So I mean, it's
a combination of both for sure.
Yeah.
It's a combination of both for sure. But even then getting to the end credits, and then we finished the animated version and realized we wanted to make it even more comic booky. So we sent it to another digital artist who also did my credits and did the blue screen video, and she turned it into. It had been just sort of flat comic before, and then we turned it into the panel situation that it is now. So we made a lot of changes, lovingly, slowly as we went along, and knowing that my goal was always to try to make money-making movies, watching the industry not be in a place where that was going to be an option.
Right.
I didn't feel I have still my day job, right? So the idea that it needed to wait for the right moment in time for it to be ready for the world. And I feel like we're finally on an upswing of, we now know that true content creation is going to mean we're going to be finding our own audiences.
Yeah.
And I think that's empowering. I don't think that's...
I do too. I don't think it's a bad thing.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't know if we're there yet, where I'm literally trying to find out right now. And it's really exciting to be able to do the outreach, and it's really exciting to, instead of have a company speak for you, be able to speak for your own project and be responsible for it. Learning so much about the digital space and marketing, and how... I guess my favorite part about it has been... what people respond to the most is genuine passion for the project, right? I'm not very good at getting fakey. I'm not very good at being a sales pitch person.
Right.
That's not actually what the world wants. They want our voices to actually tell them a story. And that's really all that marketing is too, just as a reassurance for anyone who's like, I don't want to market my own film.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's another job, but...
It is a full-time job, but I think, that it's connecting. It's connecting with people just like film.
Yes.
You have this product, doesn't matter if it's a film or a widget or whatever it is.
Yes.
It's connecting what that person needs that you're talking to, and it's different for every pitch.
Every single one.
Yeah.
Every single project, Yeah.
Yeah. So you made did you do festival? You did some festivals. You did CineQuest.
We just did CineQuest. That was a conscious decision.
We
premiered at CineQuest, and we took home the New Visions Award.
Yay,
I'm very proud of that. It was such an amazing surprise. But I had been watching... The point of film festivals used to be that you'd go there and a distributor would find you and you'd find the correct path for your film.
Yeah.
And we spend thousands of dollars to go to a film festival if it's not the amazing Panorama, right, film festival that we get to premiere here. If it's not local, you have to spend money to get there. That's part of your marketing budget.
I just got back from New York.
Yes.
It wasn't cheap.
It's not cheap, right? And especially if you're in a big city, forget it. And so I made a very conscious decision that when I got into a festival that satisfied me, I was like, great, and done, moving straight into the theatrical. So from CineQuest, we opened, I think it was 2 weeks after the festival ended, at the Living Room Theaters.
Yeah.
Right here in Portland, bring it home first, which was amazing, and we got an extended run there, and to do Q&As in your hometown just feels so magical and so good, and people so lovingly turned out for it, which was incredible.
Yeah, I was gone that night, so I didn't get to come to the premiere, which I was really sad because I wanted to. But I've heard great things about it.
Oh, it's so sweet. Well, I mean, for me, it's never going to be about putting pressure. One of the cool things about now, and as much as I'm always going to be a theater first girl, I love the experience of being in a movie theater. It's also our responsibility to put it as broadly and as wide as we possibly can. So I tried to watch Megalopolis the other day because I was like, you know what, Coppola, I know this is going to be crazy, but I'm curious. I want to see. He's very deliberately not putting it out digitally, and I found that a fascinating and slightly rude choice because I'm a mom. Getting out to a movie theater is a huge deal, and it doesn't mean I don't want to see something. It means, sometimes I have to bring it to me, right? Sometimes I got to stream it. So after we did Portland, LA, DC, and New York, we we went straight to promoting for this amazing digital opportunity. And
now, did you set up those screenings yourself?
I worked with an amazing distribution consultant.
Okay.
So again, in making the decisions about how I was going to spend the money that I had, and I had set aside a marketing budget.
Smart.
Instead of giving away pieces of the film little bit by little bit, I budgeted for an amount. So I hired consultants instead of hiring sales agents. My concern with sales agents right now is we know for sure that most films are not in the traditional routes going to be making their money back.
Right.
And when I went to AFM this year, the first time, last time in Vegas.
Oh, yeah, I was there too. That was crazy, yeah.
Maybe we met each other there.
I wonder if we did.
You seem very, there's also just the Portland love, right?
The Portland thing, but yeah, we were there. I was trying to pitch my TV pilot, which I found out they're not buying TV pilots right now.
Nobody's buying anything right now.
Nobody's buying anything. But yeah, Vegas was crazy.
It was crazy.
And that was my first time going to AFM.
Yeah.
And my husband and I came back and we're like, we're never going to do this again. That was insane. We were waiting 2 hours to go up the elevator.
Just to go up the elevator.
And then we got lost in the stairwell and ended up out the back door, and it was crazy.
You're like, where am I?
Yeah, and then...
Vegas.
And so now they're moving back to LA, which I'm thrilled. So now I'm like, okay.
And they're moving away from Santa Monica, which was apparently really dense and like sort of bizarrely, competitive and tightly packed. Anyway.
Yeah. Did you have meetings at AFM then?
I did okay because I had a finished project.
Right.
So
I had a couple meetings, but they weren't like... I'm still working with one person, but come on, that was November. So,
what I found was I got a couple of offers for help, and I got a couple of offers from sales and distribution people. But and this is not knocking what the system has to do to protect itself, but it didn't work for me.
Right.
Almost all of them were taking either too large of a chunk with no ability to show me that there was truly a possibility for it, or the scarier thing, charging an upfront.
That's what they wanted to do.
Right. And so if we do the math on this, right, the numbers I was hearing were between 5K and 10K as you pay me up front, and then that'll be taken out. You'll get your money back before I take my money. But I'm going 5K. So if 10% is what you should be taking, which is not what they're taking anymore. It's 20, 30, maybe even 40%, right? So I have to make 50K back, but you're telling me you can't sell a movie for 50K. So why? So what's happening is if they're charging 5K per movie and they take on 100 movies, they're done for the year.
Exactly.
And we know for sure there's no outlets that are paying like that kind of money for movies. So it's... And again, like it's not to question their integrity, but in order for them to keep the lights on, the
system is
broken.
Favoring filmmakers.
It's broken.
Yeah.
And for when even companies like Gravitas are going under, when even companies that were deeply reputable before, part of me is like, good for you for going under instead of just taking advantage of people. And this is on the tail end of so many stories of people not getting their money back, being charged exorbitant marketing, things. So I'm proud of myself for both trying it and saying, no, that's not for me. And we're going to have to, but that means that we're in the middle of a revolution.
Right.
That new outlets are coming.
Exactly.
And that new possibilities are on the horizon.
Yeah.
And
I believe it will get better.
I think so.
Yeah. And so you chose to go with this new platform.
Yes.
Which used to do...
Still does, yes.
Yeah.
So Veep started in the middle of the pandemic as a live concert and comedy special distribution platform. At a time when it was really difficult to get to a live concert, certainly not with travel, et cetera. Joel and Benji Madden decided that they were going to support the artists who were struggling and figure out how to help them make money from their audiences by streaming these events. It's a spectacular company to work with. They have been nothing but loving. They have taught me so much about marketing. They have helped me locate my audience. They have expanded it with their own internal audience. But we were brought on because of the very specific tie of the music. They hadn't worked with many narrative films before. We're only the second narrative film. They'd done music documentaries with, some success because of their tie-in. But if it hadn't been for that. So my point there being, don't everybody think that Veeps is necessarily going to... Yes, we don't know that for sure. I'm really working on proving it. Yeah. It could be. I love them to death. I can't believe I get to work with these people. But don't run out and ask them if they'll also take your movie.
Right.
First, I have to prove it
they're
first.
Just sort of tipping their toes in the pool right now.
We're all trying things.
To figure that out, yeah.
But where are our audiences? right?
Yeah.
I got to approach an audience of music lovers with a film specifically about music. So
and that fit for your film.
Correct. That's
Definitely.
what I'm saying. Exactly.
Yeah, and so so it's available
Yes.
streaming on Veep.
Veeps.com/NORA. That gets you straight. And the cool thing about it is it's not just another streamer. You can do a subscription service with a monthly and you can watch all the concerts, or you can buy a single ticket for $14.99.
Yeah, it's sort of an Amazon Prime model where you can subscribe or you can just rent.
Correct. But, you know, even on Amazon Prime, right, on this one, if you subscribe, I believe you can watch all of the content. I don't think anything has been eliminated. No upcharges. I mean, you know, we have our vinyl is available to sell there. And
so it also is the platform to buy the soundtrack.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, and the soundtrack, which is also streaming on Spotify and Apple and all of those things too.
Okay.
So, yeah. But this is the point, right? As from a filmmaking standpoint, where are our people?
Yeah.
Specifically. Very specifically.
I think we're all trying to figure that out right now.
Yes.
I mean, everyone is trying to figure that out.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not alone. Everyone is, what's the next thing? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
You know, distributors, that's a whole other podcast.
It's a whole other ball of wax. And I think that there's also, you know, the problem that we have right now is because we're in between two things, right? There's no certainty. There's absolutely none. And so the boldest of us are going to be the ones who will make it through here and continue out the other side, whatever it turns out to be.
Forging our own path.
Risk taking up the wazoo. So that's, I mean, that describes me to a T. I'm not saying there's no fear, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so it's doing well so far. It's only been out now
about a week. I guess
a week,
almost a week and a half now. And it's so exciting to watch it. Then the other fact is these things build over time, right? So we were delighted with our opening numbers, but then we're hoping really what it'll do is pick up and go viral and snowball and all of those things. So
right, because then, I mean, if it does do well on that platform, do you anticipate that you would then get a distribution deal maybe? Or
hopefully,
do you feel like that wouldn't happen now that it's on the platform?
No, the platform doesn't own they have the rights to stream it for the amount of time that it's on there.
So
it's
you
a
still
brilliant
own
deal.
it. You've not signed over to nothing. I love that.
Correct. Yeah. Another conscious decision, right? To not give away the farm. So hopefully there's a bigger chunk of financials distribution, but I still hope that audiences alone, because that is the way we're supposed to be making this money back, is by selling tickets to the people who actually need this particular story told to them. Right. And then it was always that you did well theatrically, and then, and people rent it, and it lives on forever, and HBO buys it, right? Right? So the idea is that if we can get back to a model where we can rely on our audiences to, you know, post-fund our projects, right? Pay back for the project itself, then of course it maintains additional value for anything down the line. So that's where we are.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the goal, right? Is just to pay yourself back pay everyone back that put money in.
Let's get rich doing this,
well,
right?
I mean, that's the ultimate goal, right? Is to make money on top of that. I mean, at the minimum, you want to pay everybody back. But then you also want to make money on top of that so you can make more films. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And I think that the reason that the system is crumbling is because they got corporate greedy, right? They decided that they were going to invest in God knows what and not pour it back into the beautiful development and raising of talent and teaching of talent and giving opportunities to talent. And instead, everybody's sort of off on their own forging and like sort of trying to punch each other in the faces to try to get to the few remaining resources that are there. And it still looks big and fancy. But, you know, at a time when the agents figured out we can make more money if what we do is build ourselves in fees that are paid by the producers instead of just taking the 10% from actors and having 10% from artists, and that fails the system and it fails the people who are actually creating the thing that people are paying for. And it failed.
And it failed.
It has failed.
Yeah.
And so now it has to rebuild in some new way.
Yes.
And, I think that I think new platforms and new ways of distributing are really, really coming.
And new voices.
And new voices, yes.
I think I love that, if this award season was anything, right? If the success these past couple of years, it has been a referendum on new voices, independent film, things not made exclusively through the development of the system being the only way to win a big award, right? I think that's a very beautiful thing to be looking at right now, and listening to Sean Baker rant and rave about how he's always going to remain independent because that's the only way he can tell the stories he actually wants to tell. Like, bless him. That I'm taking so to heart, and will push as hard as I can to be allowed to be one of those voices in whatever the new world order ends up being.
Well, and I think all of us that have stories to tell want to tell our own stories in our own way. We don't want someone else to tell us how to tell our story just to get the money.
Yeah.
And so I think that is super valuable, a great message to give people that, yes, you can tell your story in your own way. It can happen.
Yeah.
And
if anything, you have to innovate. As soon as someone says, these are the rules, follow them.
Yeah.
Us as artists are like, hold on a minute.
Yeah. Well,
I don't like it. That doesn't feel good to me. Right?
Exactly.
And that's why what we make is important, because that's how society develops, just like it did for the Greeks.
Yes. I love that. Wow. So what's next for you? I mean, this is sort of out there now.
She's out there. Yeah. Nora's out there. There's still a lot of work to be done on it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to quit on it before I reach the finish line. But I'm trying to line up my next film, which is going to be a psychological thriller. Just, you got to figure out where the money comes from, and trying to figure out whether the building of the permanent community is first, or whether it's project by project until it's very obvious.
Right.
How we all are going to be able to work together on it. So
how do you think that's going to be? Do you think it is project by project, or do you feel like it's building already?
I still think that there will be. I look at the system that's failing right now as the one that was built on the back of the amazing voices that came out of the 70s after the collapse of the system in the 50s and 60s. So we had Cassavetes and we had Scorsese, and then they built up a successful system enough with true, like blunt, slightly black, right, art, spectacular things that no one had ever seen before, paving the way for Lucas to come in and make a nonsense sci-fi movie that started an entire studio system, Spielberg to come in and tell stories told with pure heart and all these things. I'm not knocking the way these mostly men told their stories, but we're done with those stories. We're not with them as filmmakers, but the system that was built on their backs no longer serves.
It doesn't,
because it isolates them as an exalted force instead of being like, all right, who else? And so I think we're the who else?
Well, and I think, women really are making more films. And I think, we see things differently. We do things differently.
Yes.
We treat people differently.
Yes.
And I think that, we're a big part of this new system.
Yes.
As women realize, hey, we can do this. We can make films our own way, right?
With love.
Yep. And where everyone gets along on set, and it's, nice. Everybody loves being there.
There is nothing better to me than saying your idea is better than mine. Exactly. I come in with a full set of prepared to get everything done.
Right.
But if somebody else, I'm like, who's got a better idea? That one is better. We're doing that one instead. Yeah. That's my favorite. That's family building. That's community building. Yeah. But I want to say to that, the reason that the system was set up to favor men was because at the time, we still couldn't have freaking credit cards,
exactly.
Right?
I was going to say that. Men had the money. You were very dependent on that money.
They were in control of the pocketbooks. Yeah. We couldn't even get a credit card. We couldn't get a loan without a man co-signing, right? So that was not untrue. We are fortunate to realize that everybody needs the kind of content made for them. I love that it still shocks us when Barbie does well, right? It cracks me up.
I know.
That was a movie made so bluntly for a female viewpoint, and we got to teach men what it feels like to feel like a woman, right, in society, and it changed things, right? And the idea that we're like, whoa, that made so much money just kills me, because of course it did. Because each group that is being spoken to with love and compassion will show up and buy the ticket, right? That's why I'm so excited to be like, moms, no one's made a movie exactly about what we actually go through and the hope and the joy and the delicious parts and the horrible parts. Like, will you come along with me? And I just saw Sinners, right? And that was the most spectacular film I've ever seen that was clearly not made with me in mind. And I was so happy to see it because I learned something, right? I got to grow and I got to expand as a result of it. There is not just room for everybody. There is financial benefit to anybody who's speaking to an audience that needs to be spoken to.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yes, people want that. They want to see
we
it.
Need
They're
it.
willing to pay for it.
Yes.
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 So go out and make those movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So you have a psychological thriller.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite genres.
Me too.
So
Me
I'm
too.
excited to see what that's about. Is there anything else you want to talk about? I mean, I feel like we could go on all day.
We could, yes,
we have a
in
lot in
the best way
common.
possible.
Even though we've never met before in person.
It doesn't feel like that.
I feel like I've known you for a long time. So.
It's the Portland love.
Yeah.
I think I just, like, for me, the final note is referendum for all of us out there, right? Let's go support each other.
Yes.
Buy the ticket.
Yes.
You know, come to the premieres, right? Here we have this amazing, tight, supportive, loving community, and yet it's still hard to make sure we're getting the word out there to show up on the day, you know? So whether it's supporting any film that was made locally on the streaming service where it goes, get those click views up. I know sometimes it can be hard to get, this is why for me, Veeps was such an important part of it because moms can't get to the theater as easily as a childless person can.
Right.
You got to pay for the babysitter, you got to make the plans, it's got to all be done ahead of time. Whether it's beamed into your house, whether you get to go to the theater, find a way to be supportive of this community in particular, and together we will rise.
Wow. I'm going to leave it with that because that's a great message.
Thank you so much.
So fun
I
to hang.
should just ask real quick. So you have a website.
Yes. NORAthemovie.com will get you to all of our ticketing things, and we'll keep all of our stuff up there. But where NORA is right now is veeps.com/NORA.
And you can stream the soundtrack, or you can,
Yes.
on Spotify,
Apple,
all the places.
Amazon, all of them.
And so do you have a website personally that we could follow?
I do. It's Anna dash. Wait, which one is it at this point? Sorry, I have so I moved from being my company was an actor's training ground to now it's a production company. So blondeDogProductions.com, which is my loving little riff on being silly about, Anyway, I've always had blonde dogs. So my production company is called blondeDogProductions.com, and that sort of is an amalgamation of my acting work and my directing work and my producing work. So
nice. Yeah. And you're probably on Instagram. I think
Definitely.
I follow you there. So
yeah,
Facebook and Instagram and all that.
Anna Will Graham, Anna Campbell.
LinkedIn,
if you're
all
just
the
looking
places.
for me. Yes.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is becoming huge.
Isn't it?
Yes.
I know.
It's sort of like, let's take ourselves seriously as professionals,
all
guys.
of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like, who can I follow on LinkedIn?
It's so much fun.
Are you passionate about supporting independent filmmakers and local storytelling? Become a sponsor of the Oregon Indie Film Podcast, where we shine a spotlight on Oregon's thriving independent film community. Our listeners are filmmakers, film lovers, and creative professionals eager to discover local talent and stories. As a sponsor, your brand will reach an engaged, creative audience that values community and authentic storytelling. Join us in celebrating Oregon's indie film scene. Let's bring your brand into the spotlight. Ready to partner? Let's talk. Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like to check out NORA for yourself, it's currently streaming at veeps.com/NORA. Go to the website, norathemovie.com, where you can learn more about Anna and the NORA team. Follow Anna Campbell on socials. You'll find all of her links in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to leave a 5-star review and share it with your friends. It really helps us reach more indie film lovers. Want to support the podcast by becoming a guest or a sponsor? Reach out at OregonIndieFilm@gmail.com.